Right. Hi guys, Joshua here again. So today I'll be walking you through step-by-step tutorial, right, of how to turn your ICP doc right into a content strategy. Yeah. So the previous video, right, you can go and watch it here. It's 5 steps to build an ICP doc for B2B SaaS content. Yeah. So we'll just be following up from that video, right, using the ICP doc we created here. And so now I'll be walking you through, right, how to actually break this down into a content strategy. Yeah. So as a recap, right, ICP doc, we basically broke it down into three different types of customers, so to speak. Right. In this case, we have the growing established enterprise clients. Yeah. And then we broke them down into different team types, right, based on different team sizes, and then different industries, pain points, desired outcomes, and buying triggers. Yeah. So if you have done that, right, you now know these four questions, right, which is who are they, what are they searching for, what problems they have, and what the desired outcomes. Yeah. And so from there, right, these are the general article types, right, that can come from knowing the answers to these four questions, right. So the general article types that people search for when they're looking to buy, right, specifically would be guides, how-to articles, right, comparison articles, like maybe between different tools, right, best of, which can be like the best HVAC software, or the best scheduling software for HVAC, right. And then competitor alternatives will now be like specific names, right, of the software, right, and then it'll be like maybe job logic alternatives, or one doc X alternatives. Yeah. So I'll just be walking you through, right, how this looks like. So for every type of article, yeah, you can actually break them down into growing, established, enterprise, right. There are three different categories, so to speak, right, and each category, right, from the ICP doc, you can now list it out very clearly, right. So say in the growing industry, right, growing company, sorry, the industry you focus on is HVAC and plumbing. Yeah. And so the top pain points could be invoicing delayed by days, and then desired outcome obviously would be invoice the same day as job completion, right. And the buying trigger could be hiring their first office admin and they need a system, right. So what that could look like as an article could be same day invoicing guide for HVAC and plumbing businesses, right. So you see how specific it is now, like the desired outcome, right, and then this for who. Yeah. And then within the article itself, that is where you can add relevance, right. It could be your introduction opening, right, where like if you have just hired your first office admin, right, to prevent any further invoicing delays, right, for your HVAC and plumbing business, right, you're in the right place, right. This guy will be detailing exactly how to file same day invoices, right, to ensure you collect money on time and there's no more delays, right. So you see how now you formulate based off the ICP doc, right, and then you can become so specific into the exact way somebody would search, right, and then within the article itself you are now answering it in a very specific way. It's not in a generic way, right. And so by doing this you will answer how actually people search, right. Somebody would potentially be searching for I'm currently in the HVAC and plumbing business industry, right. I've been experiencing invoice delays, sometimes up to 3-4 days, right, and I would like to actually have same day invoicing, right, upon job completion, right. And I've recently just hired a first office admin and I require a system, right. How should I go about doing this, in terms of like a training guide or whatever, right. And then so when you write this article now, right, you will show up in the chat engine, for example, right, in ChatGPT, in Claude, right, in Perplexity, right. You will be cited inside it, right, and then as a result of that, your brand shows up, right, because in all of these chats it will quote, right, it will tell you the source of where that information came from, for example. Yeah. And then within the article itself, that's where you can put in your product placement, right, like come and try our free trial, right, or book a demo, or it could be a lead magnet, right. So all of these different layers basically now enables you to create content that is extremely specific based off the ICP, right? And it's based off how people actually search and ask questions to look for a solution. Yeah. So basically, keeping it simple, right? What you're doing is you are reverse engineering the way you create content based off real conversations you had with your ICP, right? Through sales calls, or maybe on the go, right? As the client is using your software, right? You can actually continue to build this question bank, right? Or like pain points basically, and then you can continuously create better and better content that will convert, right? So this is how you essentially do it, right? And you can just scale it across every single of these different article types, right? These are all buying intent articles or high buying intent articles, right? So say maybe it's for like a comparison, right? They are comparing different tools, for example. So not necessarily like a specific um, name of the company, but it could be a different type of tool. So for example, say invoicing, right? In the space of invoicing, there's Xero, right? Or QuickBooks, you know. So it could be Xero versus QuickBooks for plumbing, right? For plumbing businesses, for example. And so you write about that because it's relevant to you, right? And you know that's something people search for, right? So by you writing for that, which is also relevant to your ICP, right? You can now input your product within that article itself and rank for it, right? And then you're also getting high intent searches for people as well, right? So I hope this helps, right? Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to guide you along, right? In terms of like how you can actually expand your content, right? And different ways of approaching it. Yeah. Other than that, cheers.